Eric Whiteback is a guy that I've talked about in a previous video. I mean, I think he's one of the best. I think he's one of the best Twitter accounts for cards because he just puts out a ton of great data. And this, I put out similar data like a while ago when I was kind of more into looking into more specific data. And he put this tweet out, which is an absolute fire tweet. Uh, Trevor Lawrence now has 1,136 different one of one rookie cards, where Tom Brady only had six. I think that, there's two conversations that I'm having here. So like Trevor Lawrence obviously being the first pick, I think maybe the better comparison would be to look at who the highest pick was in 2000, which now that I'm saying it out loud, I didn't do that and I probably should have, but either way. So I think there's probably more one of ones of whoever was a higher pick. Tom Brady was like one of the last guys in the whole draft to get picked. So like obviously he's not going to have as many one of ones. He really doesn't have that many cards in general. It's actually sort of surprising that he even has a Contender's autograph or a Bowman Chrome. But I think what you have here is obviously we've seen such a increase in production. Uh, Obviously, number of products has gone up significantly. Parallels gone up significantly, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. Like I'm sure you could probably go to this tweet or you could go on Twitter and see people complaining about how this is terrible and how it's ruining the hobby and how all of these parallels and all of these one of ones devalues the cards. And I think to some extent they may be correct, but I just think it more comes to a point where there's just more opportunity. I think that's kind of how I look at it. If you're flipping cards or if you're buying and selling right away, I just think that there's more opportunity. I don't know 100% whether people who are strictly collectors like that there's more one of ones or if they wish that there were less. I'd say there's probably two. There's probably the people who like collecting the one of ones and they wish there was less, so that way they wouldn't have to, choose sort of which card. They would just be able to get the one of one. And then there's probably also people who just look at it and say, well, there's so many one of ones, they're all going to be a little bit cheaper now, which is great. I think down the road, like you could even look back at some old products or that have come out throughout the years. And if you want to find a player who, you know, isn't Trevor Lawrence, for example, you're probably going to be able to find a ton of those cards for pretty cheap. I think Trevor Lawrence is, number one pick. Mac Jones. I mean, all those quarterbacks have played fine from last year. Zach Wilson really he's injured, so he hasn't played yet this year. And depending on when this video comes out, it's probably past week 2. So like, there's going to be more numbers that have come out, but just looking at like the initial sort of initial after 1 year, I think all of them have been fine. Have they lived up to their potential? Probably not. Will some of them fall off? Probably. I mean, I just think that that's sort of how it goes. One of the things that I think I need to do a little bit more research on this specifically, but if anybody has this data and wants to leave it in the comments, um, I'd be interested to see like what the percentage of quarterbacks who are playing in the NFL and where their rounds were. Because I think there was the 5 quarterbacks that went in last year's draft. But I would be interested to see like what percentage of first round quarterbacks end up being busts, or like is like, randomly is like the third round the best round for quarterbacks to go in. But I think when it comes to cards, I think this, 1,136. That's obviously super high. I think it kind of comes with the conversation of like, there are going to be way more inserts as well. Like, I would be interested to know, I would be interested to see what this number would be if it was just the base cards coming out of products and not including inserts. Because if you take out the inserts, if each product there's one of one base card of that insert or of that card, I think that obviously is going to drop the number pretty significantly. I've talked about this in the past as well. I don't love that they have multiple different types of one of ones. Like I know with Contenders in 2018, there was a variation image, which I think they do the variation every year, but they had a image variation to Josh Allen, is why I'm using this as an example. But they had the one of one Josh Allen, which sold on all. And a couple weeks before that, the one of one image variation was pulled. So I thought those were the same cards. And I actually made a video where I had to take the video down basically because I made it for collectible. And because I didn't realize that the cards were different. I reworded it and it wasn't really that big of a deal. But I think I don't love that the one of ones that they have image variations with one of ones. And I think another conversation that I would like to see, and I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I think that all base cards should be either numbered or they should have a print run on the base card. I don't know if they would be able to. I don't know. I don't think they would ever be able to serial number every single base card. Like if we're talking like Topps Chrome, or if we're talking Topps, or if we're talking for football Prism or Donruss or Optic, they obviously wouldn't be able to. They wouldn't be able to serial number probably every single card. That's kind of what you see in like higher end products, but I'm talking base products. I think either I think it would help the market because it would um card companies would never do this because then they would be showing their hand on how many uh what their print runs are, on all their cards. But I think it would help the market if we knew how many of these cards there were. I think one thing you saw, um, with the Mac Jones card, for example, the Donruss, there's so many of those graded. And there were so many that got graded so quickly. It was in like the top five, I think, for PSA. They were talking about how they cards that were graded after last season. The Mac Jones or the Mac Jones Donruss was in that top conversation there of like, I think it was in the top five of total graded. But like if and I think when it comes to maybe pricing, I don't know, maybe it's like they come out with a product itself that has all the base cards numbered. I don't know how they get that into the kind of the cycle of like products that everyone's really excited for. But I would like to see the print run at least somewhere. Like even if it's not on the card, even if they were to on the box or something, like even or I don't know, this would be kind of crazy. Maybe they come out with a product and the product is actually the number of how many base cards there are. Like I said, I'm just kind of spitballing here of sort of the concept that I would like to see. But I think the numbering of all the base cards would help because it would help the market maybe more than collectors, I guess, necessarily, because then each year you're obviously going to see more and more of that specific product. But I think it would be kind of cool if they, maybe even if Topps were to say, like, we're not going to increase print runs for 2 years, or we're not going to do this. We're not going to increase the number of cards that we're coming out with for however many years. I think that would be another interesting thing too. I think with this comparison, I do think that there's just more opportunity for people to flip these cards. With Trevor Lawrence, I think or with any of these rookie quarterbacks, because I think you're kind of looking at them all being sort of similarly priced. If there's a good opportunity for people to flip these cards, then I think that's good. But also at the same time, it probably makes the cards a little bit cheaper. So if you don't want to flip, you could buy the cards and you don't have to really worry about what the price is. Like now at this point too, because basically all the products, I think Donruss Elite is the first product that's the new product for the rookies with like Kenny Pickett and all the rookies from this year. So I'm pretty sure that product came out like last week, or it has come out already. So now you're going to see the end of the Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones products and more of the Kenny Pickett products coming out. But I think what you'll see is because there's more cards, I think it's going to lead to more people kind of getting involved. I think, in my opinion, maybe not, but like I think it's going to get more people involved because they're going to say, hey, there's a Trevor Lawrence 1/1. This 1/1 Trevor Lawrence is only a couple $100, or it's only like $50 or whatever it ends up being, and you get the 1/1. I think that's more exciting for people who are looking to buy these cards than like, I think Brady is another kind of extreme example, but like with Brady, there's only 6 1/1s. So like all those 1/1s are going to be thousands and thousands of dollars. So it's going to be harder to obtain, where maybe these 1/1s excites collectors a little bit more because there are so many of them.